the second time in 2 days, I've seen a major Trump official being beat up by some reporter or some Democrat over some racial fairy tale for which they have no answer. The first time was just the other night on 60 Minutes when Leslie Stahl pulled out the old black kids and white kids do the same in school, but the only reason black kids are suspended and expelled more often and get lousy grades is because white teachers are picking on them because white racist teachers do not like black students. Something similar came up just the other day in some kind of hearing. Cory Booker was at some kind of Senate hearing, and Cory Booker was asking somebody about drug use. And he was talking about the institutional racist and implicit bias and all the drug use between black people and white people, because everybody knows black people and white people use the exact same amount of drugs, but only white people get off on it. Black people are arrested for things that white people are let go for. That's a fairy tale. We've exposed that on this channel. We've exposed that in Don't Make the Black Kids Angry at length. I'm going to talk about that on my podcast that I'm going to make a little bit later on. But really, I've never really seen a public official or a reporter come out and make the same claim about crime. They kind of try once in a while, but they mostly abandon the white people do it too pretty soon to white people deserve it, because the numbers are so out of whack, even they can't hold that fairy tale together for very long without it totally collapsing. I mean, like, for example, do we ever see white kids doing something like this?
And there have been lots of new developments today in the cell phone store robbery in Huber Heights that was caught on camera.
First at 4, we're hearing the 911 call made by a store worker moments after the masked gunman left.
Came in all with guns. They had us pinned to the ground. I had to open the safe for them, and they completely took everything.
This afternoon, 6 juvenile suspects appeared in court, and 2 News reporter Ethan Fitzgerald witnessed an emotional outburst. He's joining us live with continuing coverage.
Mark and Brooke, there were 6 suspects in this case, all of them juveniles. Judge Capizzi split the 16s into 2 groups each, all of them facing aggravated robbery charges. And the state plans to add more charges because most of the teens, according to the judge, had guns. As that first group did appear before the judge, it did not take long for emotions to flare.
In this case alone, with a gun spec and aggravated robbery, they are potentially looking at 7 to 15 to 25 years in adult prison.
Families in utter dismay at the notion that their kids could spend most of their life in prison. It's our policy at 2 News not to identify juvenile suspects. That's why we are blurring this video. They are all young. 2 15-year-olds, 2 16-year-olds, and 2 17-year-olds.
And so gentlemen get used to living upstairs. You'll be upstairs for quite an extended period of time at this point.
The courtroom calmed down after the first group, but Judge Capizzi made one thing clear: the felony charges are more than serious.
Tell you what's going on here without you hopefully having the same reaction I had in my last group. They're charged with very serious charges, as result of what allegedly happened yesterday.
One family member, who we will keep anonymous because of the age of her relative, says the charges are shocking.
They were good kids. I mean, they were good kids, and somehow they just got lost.
The woman saw this video on Thursday, having no idea that one of her family members may be behind the mask.
I didn't know who they were. My son did, and it was just heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
I reassured her through text that there was nothing in the building. They're keeping you safe. They're just not letting anybody else in.
New reaction tonight from parents after a cell phone store robbery puts a Huber Heights schools on lockdown today. First at 11, 7 suspects are behind bars after a wild scene in Huber Heights today. It started as an armed robbery and ended with a crash just feet from a school.
We first brought this to you as breaking news on First at 4. 2 News reporter Jordan Bowen has been following the story since this afternoon. He has new information.
Well, Mark and Brooke, right now the cell phone store here on Old Troy Pike in Huber Heights is closed after police say 7 suspects came in and held employees at gunpoint this afternoon. The entire robbery was caught on surveillance video. Watch as a suspect escorts an employee to the safe. Seconds later, more suspects come in. and one points a gun at the employee's face. He then opens the safe. Suspects are seen placing multiple cell phones into trash bags. The suspect in the red hoodie once again points the gun at the employee. The safe is cleared out in just a matter of seconds. The suspects are then seen fleeing the store, feet from surveillance cameras.
It's pretty bold. I mean, when you walk into a business in the middle of the daytime and in a populated area.
Our cameras caught police as they chased the suspects through this residential neighborhood.
It's frightening. I mean, it's frightening to think how old were they? How did they get access to something like this?
The suspects eventually crashed this white Honda Pilot SUV into two cars near the corner of Harshmanville Road and Longford Road in Huber Heights.
I was crying and scared. It's scary. It's sad.
The crash happened just down the street from a Huber Heights middle school. The entire district immediately placed on lockdown. Students like Brianna Rainiak say they were panicked, afraid someone was inside the school.
They were horrified for their own lives, so was I. I honestly didn't think I was going to see my family again.
The lockdown was lifted after police took the suspects into custody. Inside the SUV, which police discovered was stolen, they found several handguns and long guns, as well as cash and several cell phones. Police say they were able to quickly apprehend the suspects because multiple crews were in the area, including SWAT, who happened to be training in Huber Heights Thursday.
It just happened to work out great for the simple fact that it happened, you know, when our administration's here, so we had multiple detectives, we had all of our street crews out here.
On my podcast the other day, we were talking about Jackson, Mississippi. The new mayor, relatively new mayor down there, the son of the old mayor, a big African black nationalist who wanted to section off a whole section of the United States. I guess he wanted to build a wall, when you think about it, around a big part of the South, declare it New Africa for black people only. Yeah. Anyway, he came out with this big policy he called criminal justice reform, where when the police kill black people after black people pull a gun on police and try to kill them, they're not going to release the mugshots of the perp who was killed or shot by police because, well, that would be showing disrespect to a dead person. And we really, in parentheses, well, we really know that person wasn't really a criminal. He was really a victim of white racism, right? Because, I mean, why else would a cop shoot a black person unless he were a stone racist? So I suggested that perhaps we could fix the problem at the source, and we just need better mugshots. That's the dog playing with the ball while I'm making this podcast. Get out of there, dog. Anyway, here, I'll show you. Here's the ball. Anyway, let's get back to serious business here. So, anyway, so I suggested that instead of like having crappy mugshots, I mean, the solution is, why don't we get better mugshots? And, you know, like the glamour photos at the mall. I mean, if that's the problem, the mugshots don't look good, why don't we fix the problem? You know, fix the problem. So no sooner had I said that than one of our more enthusiastic viewers sent me this. Yeah. We fixed the problem. You ever notice that white parents aren't really overly concerned about what their kids' mugshots look like if they get in trouble? Because having a crappy looking mugshot, well, that makes the black kids angry.